that time. So Mr. LeMay, I am going to pass it over to you. You guys can see my screen, right, with portions of the SDI team. Can everybody see that version of it? Yes, great. Thank you, David. Okay, perfect. Welcome again, Jennifer McInnes, VP of Growth and Marketing. I'm here in kind of a support role tonight, but we have a really exciting panel for this evening that's going to talk to us about everything military and veteran services. So without further ado, Wes, I'm going to hand the reins over to you, and you just let me know what you need from me throughout the evening.
Sounds great. Thanks, Jennifer. Welcome, everyone. If you hear thunder rolling in the background, I have a storm coming in here, so hopefully it'll cooperate with us tonight and we can kind of get through this thing. Guys, as Jennifer said, my name is Wes LeMay. I am the Dean of the School of Firearms Technology, and I will be facilitating this show tonight, along with Jennifer's help as she pops in and out as we go through this process. Before we start, and I've been watching the chat section blow up, I want to say thank you to all the panelists that will be here tonight from the NBS team. And I'll allow those guys to introduce themselves in just a moment. Definitely want to thank the students, and there's a bunch that I've seen kind of pop in and out of here, which is fantastic, that are watching and listening in. And thank the folks who are not currently SDI students for turning in. You know, and if you fall into that category there at the end, welcome, welcome, welcome. Tonight is an opportunity for you to learn a little bit about what SDI is and meet some of our staff that we're pretty proud of. Small house cleaning item as we sort of get started here. If you have questions for our panelists tonight as we go through there, if you will look at the box on the bottom of your screen, it may be over there to the right. There is a Q&A section right there. If you have a question, type it in right there. Jennifer's going to kind of monitor that thing for us. Jennifer, if we have anything great that's related as we go through, please feel free to jump in over the top of us and let's get that question going. If not, guys, we will have an opportunity at the end of the presentation to answer some of those questions that maybe we've missed as we've gone along. Also, you're going to have the ability to see all the contact information for our military and veteran services team. So at the end, make sure you write that stuff down. If we have a question that we do not get to, feel free to email that team directly, and those guys will follow up with you as we get to the end of the presentation there. Who is SDI and what do we do? For the folks that aren't currently SDI students, SDI is a firearms technology school. You know, our goal is to provide students with a quality education delivered in a flexible online setting. What does that mean to you? That means that every project, every classroom, everything you do at SDI is going to be done in your home or wherever you take those classes from with a subject matter expert that is related to whatever course it is that you're taking. At the school, we offer an Associate of Science in Firearms Technology, an Advanced Gunsmithing Certificate, and a few Armorers courses. SDI is a fully accredited college by the Distance Education Accrediting Commission, the DEAC. If you want to learn more and you're not currently a student, go to our website. That's www.sdi.edu, www.sdi.edu. That's how you'll check out what the school is all about. If you go to the website and you look in that top right-hand corner, you're going to see an orange request information button. Click that button. One of our awesome admissions representatives will reach out to you and provide you with any information that you're looking for. So there's our house cleaning right up front. So what is the webinar about tonight? SDI has a very highly active, current, active, and veteran student population. You know, we strive to ensure that our service members and our students and veterans are set up for success as they go through the program. It's so important at SDI with how many students that we have. We have an entire team dedicated just to that mission. At SDI, we have a tremendous amount of staff and faculty members that are prior service, myself included, 10 years of military service in the Army. The purpose of tonight's webinar is to introduce that team that deals directly with that group, what they do, and how they can assist you while you're a student. With that being said, let's meet the team. Jennifer, if you'll pop us over to the next slide. Rob, I'll let you get us started.
Hey, thanks a lot, Wes. Hey, everybody, thanks for showing up. First and foremost, for those of you that are current and or former service members, I truly thank you for your service, especially on this day right before our remembrance of September 11th. Well, I'm Rob Howard. I happen to be the Director of Military and Veteran Services, and I'll leave it at that right now. I have retired after 22 years of service in the United States Army, and I have been working with SDI since about March of 2015 in various roles, and finally stumbled upon this awesome opportunity to lead this team. Sam, let me turn it over to you for a quick introduction.
All right, thanks, Rob. My name is Sam Field. I too am an Army veteran. I retired from the Army in late 2015 and came to work with SDI shortly thereafter. Started off first with the field teams before transitioning over into this department. Mark?
Hey, thanks, Sam. Yeah, I'm Mark Gibbons. I'm a retired Navy veteran. I retired in 1998, a few years ago. I joined SDI as a contractor back in 2014 after attending a gun show and found out what an exciting opportunity it was. So I wanted to be part of that team. So I thank you for joining us tonight.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. Go ahead, Wes.
Yeah, that's outstanding. You know, if you guys think about it, that is over 60 plus years of military experience, all on this one team. A couple of us actually crossed paths in the service before SDI. I don't know if that makes us all old or if it's just really beneficial for the students that they have that much combined experience as they go through the process and are associated with you guys.
Well, I think it's a little bit of both, Wes, to be honest with you. We are a little bit old, and I do think with us some of us having served together in the past, it makes life a little bit easier in providing a better product for our students. So you at least got the service piece that we've connected with you guys with. The other piece that I kind of want you guys to know tonight as well is we are some lifelong learners as well. Many of us, well, a couple of us pursued degrees while we were in service and used that tuition assistance. And even now, after we've transitioned and or retired from the service, some of us are going through and using the GI Bill benefits and still juggling that work schedule, that home life, just to go ahead and go through and get some of that higher education knocked out. A couple of the biggest things that I want you guys to take away from us tonight. First and foremost, we're here to see you be successful while at SDI. And for those of you that are thinking about coming to SDI, if you have any questions about who we are, what we do, or SDI in general, then you can just link up with us directly. We'll answer all those questions for you here at the end. The second thing is those exact same values that we shared while in service, we brought along with us here to SDI. That's probably the biggest thing that I can share with you. And probably the other big takeaway is let's have a good time. If you have some questions you want to get from us or some answers you want to get from us, please let us know.
Absolutely. Well, you know, now that we kind of went over who you guys are, let's talk a little bit about what we're going to cover tonight. Jennifer, if you'll pop me over to the agenda, please. Guys, we'll keep most of this fairly brief as we go through the process here. Tonight, we'll hit some background information. I think it's important for you to understand what the student body in terms of service members and veterans look like at the school. We'll talk a little bit about exactly what the department's mission is and what they do on a day-to-day basis, what services are offered that are out there in terms of who we are actually associated with and what does that mean for you. We'll look at some of the key policies and issues that affect our military connected students. Those are important things to know. And typically this department sees a lot of that in repetition. It's a lot of the same things over and over again as that stuff goes through. And then probably one of my most important takeaways as we started to prepare for this was, Rob, your team putting together what you feel like based off of that 60 years of experience and all the experience at SDI, keys to success. What do I need to know as an incoming student or one that has just started, or even if I'm halfway through my program? What is it that I need to reflect on and know to be successful as I go through my time at SDI? We'll throw up some contact information, like I said before, so you guys have an opportunity to see, you know, how I get in touch with these guys, phone numbers, emails, the whole 9 yards there. We'll clean up any questions that we have, and then we'll do kind of a summary there at the end. So let's go ahead and start and dive into some background information. Rob, if you can walk us through what the service member student body looks like and how this department came about, I think it starts to set the framework and foundation about who you guys are and what you do today.
I can do that for you. So if you go to the next slide, please, Jennifer. So this is our background. I'm not going to read every piece of information on there for you guys. It's just really, it's not that it's not that important. You just didn't come here to be talked at for the next 30 to 40 minutes. The one thing that I will share with you is, you know, as Wes had stated, we do have a very large military connected student population. What SDI considers military connected happens to be active duty, retired, veterans, reserve, National Guard, and or dependents of those individuals, and I should say those using the benefits of those service members attending our school. Those are the guys and gals that we can reach out and hopefully help and make a difference in. Of all of the students we have going to class right now, 76% of our student population are military connected. Doesn't sound like a big deal, except when you go to some of the much larger schools than what SDI is, that population is normally anywhere from about the 2 to 6% range. So we have an entire department, the three of us here, that are here to kind of help take care of you guys. The things that we see and deal with on a daily basis that Wes was talking about, number one, our goal is to go through and make sure that we're abiding by all military regulations, Department of Defense regulations, each branch of service regulations, state and federal laws. It doesn't sound like a whole lot of information. Boy, I'm here to let you know, after the years I spent in the Army and diving just through Army regulations, learning the Department of Defense instruction as well as the Department of Education stuff, it's a whole new ballgame because you got to stay on top of when those changes kind of went into effect and how that stuff applies to not just each branch of service, but how that applies to each branch of service as well. As far as our presence is concerned, as you guys can see, I mean, we're all here on Zoom. All three of us are remote employees. Mark lives out in California, I live in Colorado, and Sam lives down in Texas. So what that does for us as well, that allows us to kind of set up our office hours when we happen to be at home, to be able to stay in constant communication with our students, because our students, you'll see here in a moment, are all over the United States, to be honest with you. And the other thing that does for us as well, that makes it a little bit easier is for us to be mobile, to go out there and support the events and conduct the outreach that we do. In addition to that, I've got two of my last favorite things that I like to talk about. Sam will do a little deeper dive and kind of show you guys some stuff about the Student Virtual Community Center. That is an awesome project that we worked on for about the last year and just got it fired up this past March. To kind of coincide with that is we also did a dedication ceremony for our office there in Tempe. We do have an office as well, and that is the Sergeant Michael J. Beckerman Veterans Service Office. And that place is absolutely pretty cool. It's just a small space, but it is a space that when we do have students that come in, they can come in and talk to some of our professionals that we have that work out of that office.
No, that's fantastic, Rob. I think it's important, when you try to decipher what those regulations mean, I know that it's very important with how you guys communicate with those students. Like you said, we'll see that in a moment that we have students that are everywhere. Doesn't necessarily affect you guys as attendees at face value, but it does with us and how we stay in contact with you and when we can be there. Rob, you mentioned something about the office, the Michael J. Beckerman office that's inside our office there in Tempe. Can you communicate with these guys and talk a little on the process of doing that office in his honor?
Yeah, I can. So Sergeant Michael Beckerman was actually a student of ours who happened to have served in Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom. We did a dedication in his honor for our office back in March of this year. As a matter of fact, we had his folks and his daughter down there at the office. What that is probably, I've done a lot of great, wonderful things in the military as far as honors and services go. That was probably the best thing I've ever done in my entire life to do that. The thing is, you know, as the creed of the non-commissioned officer kind of goes, you know, we're there to take care of soldiers while we're in service. Outside of service, that's kind of what our mission is on behalf of SDI, is to help SDI take care of the students. As Sergeant Beckerman took care of his service members, you know, we dedicate our office in his honor so that way we can show our commitment to taking care of our students at SDI.
No, it was absolutely outstanding. You know, we had an opportunity to stay in touch with Michael's family for several years before we got that opportunity. And when we got ready to open that new office, we really sat down and had some good discussion about what this thing was going to be called and what we were going to do. We had looked at several local Medal of Honor recipients and that sort of thing. And then, you know, there was no way we could go around it. We had a student who was that non-commissioned officer that took care of his soldiers, that lost his life in Afghanistan, and that was obviously the route that we wanted to go. So proud of that office. I know you guys are as well. And to your point, it's a great opportunity for folks to come and sit down and talk to our folks. All right, so now that we got a little bit of background information, let's talk about exactly what you guys do. What is the mission of the department, and how do you guys go about it? Jennifer, if you can flip us over to the next slide. Rob, I'll let you take it away and talk about the mission.
I can do that. So if you guys take a look at the very bottom, hopefully you can read that stuff. I'm not going to read that out for you, except I'm going to paraphrase that pretty easily. Our job as a department is to kind of remove the obstacles to help you be a successful student. And that comes in a couple of different ways, either through conducting student outreach, student engagement, and or helping you through personalized assistance. And according to us, and when we sat down and decided how we can best support SDI and how we can best support the student, we came up with our own 4 pillars of support there, and you can see them across the top there. Our faculty and staff is who we support. We support the students and alumni. We support the communities that we live in. We also support the communities that SDI happens to reside there in Tempe. Not to mention, we also support the military installations as well. I go down there and tell you, well, through our faculty and staff support, you know, we tend to be the cultural subject matter experts in helping our faculty and staff members decipher some of the wonderful language that we happen to use, some of that jargon, and understanding, hey, really, things happen in a moment's notice that are beyond our control. We're there to kind of verify and validate some of that information and make sure that our faculty and staff are understanding of some of the uniqueness that our students bring. For our students and alumni, there's so many things that we do out there to kind of get you guys supported. I'd say first and foremost, if you need somebody to call up and to have bend an ear for you, hey, we're probably the best guys for that. To be honest with you, we know, like I said before, we know what you've gone through, we know what you're going through, and we can definitely get you guys pointed in the right direction through some referral services to get you some assistance that you might need. As far as the community support is involved, you know, for one, I'm involved with a couple of veteran service organizations where I live, number one, and number two, for our community there in Tempe. You know, we last year was our first item that we hosted. We did a visit with the VA hospital. We took some of our faculty and staff that happened to live in that area. Oh man, what a tremendous experience that is, to bring some people that are not necessarily familiar with the military service, to bring them to an institution like that to interact with some of our much older, experienced veterans. And as far as the military installations and how we support those guys, you know, that is another liaison type duty that we do. Making sure that we are connecting the student with the right education counselor in some instances, or just being present there to pass information on between our staff as well as the education staff. Not to mention, we also further support our military installations by participating in different events such as your education fairs that you host annually or semi-annually for some other places. In addition to that, we support transition briefs as well.
Outstanding. Yeah, you guys are all over the place, and I had the pleasure of being there for the VA hospital visit to take our folks that do not have the same service background as us into that location and watch them interact was absolutely fantastic. And Mark Gibbons, you did an excellent job directing bingo that day. I just want to throw that out there. No matter how much shade the vets threw in your direction for being slow, I thought you did an outstanding job. You talked about this last pillar, Rob, with military installations. You guys, I know just in the last quarter alone, we did 50 plus events. You guys put a lot of airline miles out there walking through that. With all the different installations that you go to, talk a little bit, Jennifer, if you want to go ahead and pop slides for us, talk a little bit about where you guys go and where the students currently are.
Well, it's we'll talk about two different type of students. We'll talk about just our active duty component, which you'll see there on the left. I'm not gonna, well, I will make some of you guys feel bad. You can see there at the very top how the airborne brothers and sisters are kind of leading the way as far as our tuition TA students are kind of involved. We have a very large population, Fort Benning at Fort Bragg. Those numbers are probably off a little bit right now because we just had a start a couple of weeks back. But you can, the other piece to kind of realize with that, as far as our TA students are concerned, we happen to be, believe it or not, in 87 different military installations. There's not a whole lot of other distance-based colleges that can say that they are being represented across that many different installations. I see that Go Navy stuff there, Jay Smith. So I'll let you know that the Navy happens to be number 2 as far as our student population is concerned. Of course, the number 1 branch of service on there happens to be the Army, to be honest with you. So a couple of the other guys, Marines, you guys are doing all right. You guys can step up a little bit. Navy are doing all right. Air Force, you can definitely step it up. And believe it or not, we do have some coasties that are representative there of the smallest population, but they're there as well. The other piece I want to kind of throw at you guys for our active duties component is, as well as while we do have 87 different military installations recommended, I can't disclose to you how many we have serving abroad. But what I can tell you, we at least have 3 to 4 students serving in Japan, as well as in Belgium. You know, that's the one thing that some of our other staff members find pretty peculiar, is we do have some overseas guys that are interested in taking our programs. Now, over there on the right-hand side, you will see the entire population of our military connected students on that heat map there. So what that's going to kind of tell you on there is that, believe it or not, with the exception of Vermont, is we have at least 1 military connected student there in across 49 of the 50 states. We even have some up in Alaska and Hawaii, to be honest with you. So that's kind of where we sit on where all of that is. You know, if we could just get some dudes and/or dudettes out of Vermont, I think we'd be sitting pretty good.
Excellent. I was answering one of the questions in there. You know, I think that piece is important. As you guys get out and travel, like I said, you guys touch service members all over the United States. Every now and then you even get lucky and head off to Alaska or something like that. But Mark, I'm going to turn this thing over to you at this point. You guys traveled all these installations. Mark, can you kind of walk us through how what you guys do tie service members and veterans to the organizations that we are tied to that help them? How do we do that as you guys are out and abroad? And Jennifer, I'll let you go ahead and transition us here.
No problem. Yeah, so just in the recent year here, we've traveled all the way from Camp Pendleton for the Marines out to Norfolk, Virginia for the Navy, Wright-Patterson for the Air Force, up to Petaluma for the Coast Guard, up to Wainwright in Alaska, and then all the way back to Arizona for the National Guard. This gives us a chance not only to meet our prospective graduates and promote our exciting programs with them, but it also gives us a chance to collaborate with the education service offices and their staff to see what we can do to better promote higher education throughout the military. One of the fringe benefits of that is state, local, and national veteran services organizations are there at those events, and we get a chance to pick their brains, see what they have to offer, and in that turn, take it back to our students and help them with important resources, information, contacts that might help them in their situation. Those are some of the exciting things we get to do out in the field. We also get a chance to meet with current students. And those are some of the exciting things on our travels. We get to travel a lot. And like I said, it's a true honor to meet with prospective students and students that are already attending our school. When we collaborate with the military education support networks, Rob is going to cover that in a later slide.
Gotcha. Thanks, Mark. That's amazing with the amount of work that you guys do and the people that are out there. Sam, I'm gonna kick this thing over to you for a minute. Rob talked a little bit about what the mission and the pillars were, and Marcus chimed in here with the outreach. What I would like for you to get into is talk about what some of the services are that students are contacting you guys on a daily basis for. Can you jump into that, Sam? And Jennifer, I'll let you continue to move here.
Yeah, we get a lot of calls or emails into the office, and that's really the biggest way that we do our student engagement, quite frankly, with you. They seek our assistance typically when they have questions concerning benefits, encounter barriers to their education, or are in need of some sort of personal assistance. On the slide, you'll see a couple just some of the highlights of some of that stuff. With the information referral services, we have a lot of policies and procedures and regulations that we have to work around, both with the DODI and DOE, and even with the VA. And sometimes it can be a little bit daunting and confusing for some students, and we're here to kind of help them kind of navigate some of those processes. So if you come down on deployment or you have a unplanned TDY, we understand that, and we kind of help students navigate some of those processes here at school. So that which rolls right on into helping navigate the SDI staff and campus. Also, we kind of keep a comprehensive list of a lot of different organizations. There's a lot of organizations out there that really want to help veterans and support military causes. And we try to go through there, identify a lot of these resources that are available, and kind of go through some sort of vetting process. Because a lot of times there's a lot of resources out there for service members and former service members, but it's like drinking from a fire hose. You don't know what to ask for sometimes. So we've kind of done the legwork on some of that stuff and went out there and beat back the bush, so to speak, to kind of find some of that stuff. And that's in addition to some of the more branch-specific service aid societies that are out there. That's really kind of like just a few of the big issues. Sometimes military service does kind of have some other issues that sometimes arise later on in life or later on in the service, where sometimes people need assistance kind of outside of our purview, but we're able to kind of help navigate you or point you in the right direction to some of those organizations that can help you, whether it's the VA, finding the nearest VA facility that can fit your need, or any other type of well-being type of organization that can assist you.
Sam, I know that you guys have several there locally in Arizona and a couple of big ones that you guys attend conferences with and interact with a great deal. Jennifer, if you can move us on to the next slide. Sam, you guys have 3 or 4 listed there. Can you kind of highlight those very quickly as we go through, just so the folks that are watching know what those guys are?
Sure. For the Arizona Department of Veteran Services and the Arizona Coalition of Military Families, those are a couple of state-sponsored organizations that work together to build a support forum for all veterans, families, and the community at large. They're in Arizona. But while those are in Arizona, there's a lot of reciprocated support organizations across the United States. It may be specific to each state that they're in, but Arizona's, since that's where SDI is located, we really kind of delved in there with them and had everything kind of vetted through their organization so that we could get recognized as a veteran support campus with them. The Council of College and Military Educators, that is a collaborative effort between DoD branch-specific education service officers and education officers and institutions of higher learning such as ourselves, so that we can formulate and identify the best way to have service members connected to their higher education, whether it's best practices or identifying services needed for veterans as they transition from the service or transition into higher education. That's kind of like the nexus of what all those organizations are kind of work to, and they kind of come together to kind of build a direct way into assisting service members.
Gotcha. You know, those organizations are important, but I want to keep us moving here. Rob, you know, we sit down and we discuss, you know, the pillars of how this department runs, some of these very important overarching organizations that we're tied to. But what I think these guys also want to hear is, tell me about the stuff that once they become a student at SDI that they can become involved with right off the bat, if you can go down that route.
I can do that. We can move over to that next slide. Thank you. So we'll start before you even become a student, or even while you're a student. I'll slip you down to that second bullet there for the Sergeant Michael Beckerman Memorial Scholarship, as well as the Paul Jackson First Responder Memorial Scholarship. Those two scholarships that we offer, they're open to anybody as long as you meet the eligibility requirements. A majority of those eligibility requirements revolve around being either actively serving or having honorably been discharged from the military service. For the Michael Beckerman Memorial Scholarship, the Paul Jackson, you need to be a first responder or a retired first responder to qualify for those. And really, I hate to make it sound this easy. As long as you can read, write, and follow directions, you stand a pretty good chance to at least have your applications reviewed by us and kind of move you along in that process. And that is probably, I get to do a lot of cool things here at SDI. That happens to be one of the coolest things that I get to do, is to get out there and talk with our scholarship recipients and kind of screen them to make sure that they are a fit for SDI. Once you happen to be a student for a little while and you get about 12 credit hours under your belt, and you happen to be enrolled in the Associate of Science and Firearms Technology degree, you then qualify to be in the Salute National Veterans Honor Society. SDI has our own chapter. I happen to be the chapter director for that honor society, and that is a great thing for you. You pay a membership fee of $35. What that does is qualify you, if you choose to pursue additional higher education, that qualifies you to apply for scholarships through the Salute National Honor Society at the national level. And depending on where you fall within the categories of that scholarship, you know, those increments kind of go up from there. In addition to that $35 covers, believe it or not, the scholarships for everybody else that happens to be applying for that. So let's talk about, I guess the other piece on there is, you know, what is it, how do we help our student body? Well, the first way for you guys to kind of get with us and bring some issues that you happen to have, and I'm not talking about classroom issues. There's a completely different route for classroom issues. But if you see that you have some ideas or some policies that we need to tighten up, you know, I challenge you to kind of get involved with the Student Veteran Advisory Committee. That meeting we host once a month, normally the first or second Wednesday, depending on what our travel calendar looks like. And we sit there, we listen to what kind of issues that we have going on in the school, and we formulate plans to bring to our executive leadership to see if there are ways that we can work around some of the policies that we have, or even refine them to where it absolutely benefits the students. There are a couple of ways that you can get entered into that. Number one, Sam will show you guys here shortly how to get through the student virtual community center. You can drop a note in the forum there. You can email us directly, and we can go around and help you guys figure that out. Let's see, we also manage the Student Veteran Virtual Community Center. And lastly, we manage the Sergeant Michael Beckerman Veteran Center. While we're not there a majority of the time there in Tempe, we do have one of our wonderful admissions reps, Patrick Harpent. He's also a former Marine that works in our office simultaneously when we're down there, and he's also part of our Student Veteran Advisory Committee. He'll definitely help you out with anything that he can. If there's something he can't presently help you out with, he'll get you directed to us to where we can get your stuff answered for you.
Thanks, Rob.
You bet.
You know, we've talked about what we have associated with abroad, what those big organizations are. Sam, if you will, I would like for you to jump in and just sort of hit the highlights here, because I want to make sure before we get out of here, we have time to show that virtual center tonight. But can you come on and kind of hit the highlights of some of the major issues, problems, just some of the important things that students need to know to navigate school at SDI to be successful, that are specifically related to, you know, current service members or veterans as they try to go to school?
Sure, no problem. You know, the most frequent issues brought to our office are really related to issues of military service. That's like I alluded to earlier. Those are individuals coming down on government orders. I'm sorry?
Great. Jennifer, if you can bump us a slide, that'd be great.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I see her answering questions. She may be stuck. There we go.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm good. They're really issues related to military service, whether you're receiving assignment orders or deployment, PCS, permanent change of station, or temporary. It is important, if you have anything come up that you think may impact your standing at SDI, it's important to notify SDI as soon as possible, whether it's the Military and Veteran Services Office or your Student Service Advisor. Another common thing that kind of happens sometimes with our service is changes to service status. What I mean by that is whether you're leaving the service, whether planned or unplanned, because let's face it, sometimes it's a hard way of life and people hurt their bodies. You know, that stuff affects your funding sometimes and also affects some of your other benefits. And so we won't be able to help you out with some of that stuff. Then the other questions really are that we get a lot of are related to the tuition assistance and the GI Bill. Well, we can't help you with that. The easiest way for you to kind of find out some of that information is by going to the VA website, which we can help out with, or we'll connect you with one of our certifying officials. But the GI Bill has a 1-800 number, or 1-888-GI-Bill-1, where you can call and they'll tell you how much benefits you have. It'll help you with your pay and all that other stuff as far as your entitlements go. Then the other thing is sometimes, like I said, be it people, whether they're changing their service or they're coming to the end of their benefits, they're exhausting their benefits. If you're looking for other types of avenues to help pay for school, things of that nature, we do have scholarships like we discussed earlier before, and we can kind of help out with some of those processes.
Gotcha. Jennifer, can you give us one more? I think Sam was going to talk a little bit about academic issues as we get kind of close to the end here.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, Sam.
The big thing that really about the academic issues, and this is also on the other hand, I can't stress enough for current students to look at the SDI catalog. You can find the SDI catalog via the SDI website, and it posts all of the policies and procedures for the school in there. Big one is posting attendance. You should be in there in your classes weekly. You'll receive notice if you don't at the 10-day, 14-day marks. And then there's some other academic issues, grading. Understand that it is online distance education. Sometimes it takes a while for your instructors to grade your assignments, and you won't get an instantaneous grade once you've completed a posting or something like that. But the SDI catalog outlines questions of the grading and how to dispute grades and corrections. The first thing you need to do is contact your professor for those courses, and then secondly, you can reach out to your student service advisors or us at the Military Veteran Services Office, and we can help align you and make sure that you're taking the right procedures in that. The last big thing I want to talk about with the academics is really about disability service and academic accommodations. Like I said before, military service can be hard on your bodies, and or you may have some other type of disability that impacts your ability to complete some of the coursework in the sense that you may need additional time, or you have problems with hearing or things of that nature. You can request academic accommodations, and because SDI is really committed to making reasonable accommodations, as long as it does not fundamentally alter the nature of the program or activity, or give an undue financial or administrative burden. They'll work around so that you can be able to complete your coursework. And then lastly, what I'd like to talk about is the SDI email communication and kind of code of conduct, because it kind of what I want to talk about kind of goes hand in hand. When you become a student in SDI, you'll have an official SDI email assigned to you, and that is to act as your primary and official means of communication between the SDI and the students. It's important to use that whenever you're communicating back and forth, whether it's with us or with the student services advisors. I'd also highly recommend that you put your student ID number on there. No matter how unique you think your name is, I guarantee there's at least one named doppelganger in the website somewhere when we're trying to look up your information to assist you. And it helps speed things up whenever we're delving into things. The last thing, like I said, kind of segueing over into the code of conduct, is remember that all email, phone calls, that is professional communication. Make sure that whenever you're communicating with your student service advisors, instructors, fellow students, that we're doing so in a professional and courteous manner, because that's the only other issue I've really we've had to address sometimes, is that you don't get the face-to-face communication, you don't get the opportunity to read the verbal cues, and sometimes there can be miscommunications involved. So just make sure that you do a good job, write something clear and concise so there's no confusion.
Absolutely. It always cracks me up that those of us that observe tend to speak a little bit different. Sometimes it's a little more direct. At the same time, we have a lot of folks at SDI that are here to help you out that maybe doesn't completely understand our background. So your point's absolutely spot on, Sam. Keep it professional. We're getting here to the end, and we got a couple of things I want to hit. The last big sort of slide that I want you guys to see that have stayed with us throughout the night is, we talked earlier, these guys have a tremendous amount of success, a tremendous amount of experience in the military, as well as their time at SDI. Rob, if you will, why don't you kind of take us through keys of success for these guys, not as it relates to some of these typical policies, but things that are very SDI specific that you think will help these guys out as they go through their class process. And Jennifer, I'll let you go ahead. You got me. Good.
All right, I will do that, and I will pick right back up where Sam left off, and we'll just start with the communication aspect. If there is something that is absolutely unclear, you don't know what you're looking for, there's any confusion, you have got to reach out to somebody and ask for some assistance. It's not going to fly by night and just show up at your doorstep. The answer is just not going to get there. Reach out to us. We will, at a minimum, we will get the answer for you. That is the coolest thing about us, is we are not directly tied anywhere. We have the absolute unique ability of kind of reaching out to any of the departments and within SDI to try to get some answers for you guys and help that. I don't want to say circumvent the system, because we're not circumventing any systems, but we can go right to the source if need be to help get you guys some of the answers. The second thing that falls inside of that is to take ownership of your education. Man, you're spending a lot of money to come to SDI. You know, be here and be part of the learning process. I know you get to hear our other former Marine, Mike Olson, our VP of Academics, talk about taking ownership and being part of the learning process. It is absolutely important that you kind of go through and soak that stuff up. Take a look at that syllabi, see what that requires for you to do, and create a schedule from that. You know, as stated earlier, I happen to be one of those creatures of habit. That's what makes us unique to SDI. You know, I start my class. I'm in a graduate school right now. I got a battle rhythm that I maintain. Monday, I read everything that I have to read. For my discussions or the responses to the discussion board posts that I have to make. And then by all means, I get my paper started on Tuesday or Wednesday. That way, all of my upfront work is done, and I'm there, and I can be part of the learning process for my peers in the classroom as well. That is the absolute biggest thing that you guys can do, is be there for your peers, help answer questions, and by all means, be involved. Getting involved even in a distance learning-based school can be as much as just showing up into the Student Veteran Virtual Community Center and helping some of your students out, cheering them on, and or helping us figure out some things that we can add to our program. And I think I'll just leave it at that, unless there's anything else for Sam and Mark that I happen to miss on that. I guess that means no.
I think you hit everything pretty fine.
Good. Okay, so here's what we're going to do is we've gotten here to the end. Jennifer, I'm going to have you pop out a screen share so that Sam, Sam, are you ready to walk us through the virtual center?
I sure can.
Okay, I'm going to let you go ahead and do that. That'll give these guys a chance to see sort of the highlights. And then Jennifer, as we get to the close, I'll come back to you. We got a couple of slides in closing, and we'll be at the end of this thing. So Sam, take it away.
All right, can everybody see the screen here okay? You guys good on your end? So what we're looking at right here is the dashboard here going into Moodle, which is our online learning management system. What I'm going to walk you through here is the Student Veteran Virtual Community Center. This is something that we kind of, with all of our students being distance-based, we wanted to at least have one spot within the learning management system where everybody can kind of go, find some information, as well as interact with each other. Once you access it, it's important that there is no requirement to come in here. There's no tests. There's no grades or anything like that. It's going to affect any standing that you have here at SDI. Coming into the main page here, first big thing that you're going to see is, of course, Veterans Crisis Line number and our announcements. We typically go in here and we post announcements. Everything on here that you can see today is scholarship information, seeking a full-time admissions coordinator, and any other sort of announcements that happen to come our way. As we scroll down back to the main page here, we have the directory. This will kind of give you a quick snapshot of where to go to find some information within this center. I've also hyperlinked a lot of these items so that it'll take you right to that section straight from here. A couple of big things that we'll go ahead and touch on is, as you scroll down, is the department staff and contact information. This is not only for the Military and Veteran Services Office, but this also has your student service advisors contact information, the VA certifying officials information, as well as our TA specialists. You can navigate fairly easily throughout the virtual center. Two other places I really want to show you is the bulletin board. A bulletin board is where we have some of our students kind of drop in. We have a student gallery where some of our students share some of their high-speed work that they got going on here. So big shout out here to Charles Laporte, sharing some of his highlights from some of the things that he's learned at SDI.
I never had a purple M4 magazine.
Well, that was for his spouse. If you go through there, I know I kind of did that highlight. He had it's paired with a purple M4, believe it or not, or AR-15.
I think I've seen it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and then I also want to share the virtual lounge. Now, this is a spot where you can kind of go and interact with other students. Be mindful that not everybody, all students have access to this. This is all inclusive. Okay, so there may be civies in there. It's okay. We can interact with each other. But what I wanted to point out is we have some frequently asked questions pinned in here, whether they're VA education, disability services, some of our military specific policies. There's a good spot to go to if you want to find some information. We also have some further information from some of our military and veteran services guys in there. And then with the student veteran organizations that Rob talked about earlier, we have our Student Veteran Advisory Council, okay? We have our SDI membership form for that, and we also have a forum. So if there are issues where you cannot make a meeting for whatever reason, you can always drop in there and leave a note. We typically jump in there and peruse that stuff here and there, see if there's anything highlighted that needs our attention. It's important that, we also hear the thing, see something, say something. If there's something on here that if there's something that you think needs to be on here that isn't on here, just reach out to us, send us an email, and let us know. We'll have to go through and do our look for it. But there's a wealth of information in here. Everything from some of those services and resources I talked about earlier, some of the gunsmithing and firearms related information, other veteran toolboxes, links to other information. It's so much that it's kind of hard to, we try to put some of it out there so you can help yourself, so to speak, because I know how it is. Being a veteran, just like a lot of you other guys, I want to be able to look for it myself, sometimes. But that's really just kind of some of the highlighted stuff on there. If there's any questions on here, I can't help you unless you ask for it. Go to the contact information page. The best way to reach us is via the MVS email address, because as was brought up earlier, we're on the road quite a bit. As you could tell, I brought a cold back with me the last time I was out on the road, so my voice is a little hoarse. But shoot us an email. We'll jump right on there. We're pretty responsive to a lot of that stuff.
Fantastic. Sam, I'm going to have you pop off, and Jennifer, we're going to get to the close here. If you can pull up that organizational structure, we'll kind of talk through the end of this thing. Rob, if you can, kind of walk us through, just so everybody, once Jennifer gets it up here, can see sort of where MVS fits within the structure of SDI. We're all military folks. Everybody likes to see an org chart. And kind of briefly get us through that piece, and then we'll move on to these last links and get to a closing here.
Fantastic. I'll be really quick. This is probably like the second slide that we've had with pictures. But I thought it was really important that we kind of show you guys where we sit. For those of you that are experienced students, your military and veteran services department actually kind of sits somewhere off by itself, and it has all of the tools there inside the department. Over at SDI, we're set up a little bit different. We all work for the Department of Student Services. Our vice president is Rob Exum, and he does a great job of keeping us at work and making sure that we're doing our piece for SDI and taking care of our students along with there, we share space there with our student service advisors. In addition to that are the financial service advisors, and that is where your school certifying officials happen to be housed, as well as our TA specialists, which I will let you guys know those dudes and dudettes are absolutely top-notch. If there is anywhere that we go in dealing with these guys, somebody has always got to walk up to us, whether it happens to be a student, whether it happens to be an education counselor. They always talk to us about how great our teams are responding to the students and or respond to any requests from the education office.
Outstanding. Jennifer, if you can move us over one more. Guys, wanted to pop up a couple of helpful references and links as we get to the end. As always, if you are a current service member or veteran and need help, reach out. You're always going to see that Veterans Crisis Line up there up front. Below are some other helpful SDI and military links. And again, just like Sam said, these are all located inside that virtual community center so that you constantly will have access to those things sort of at your disposal while you're in there working inside your classroom. Jennifer, let's take some time to answer any questions that we've missed along the way. Once you get to that question slide, there's one there that's got nothing but contact information on it. We'll take any questions as we get to that slide, and we'll leave that one up so folks can make sure they take an opportunity to write down a phone number or write down an email, if you will.
Sure. You want me to go ahead and forward to the contact slide now so that they could have that time?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep. Go ahead and move us one more.
One more?
Right there. Perfect.
Okay.
And I know you've been getting them kind of in and out. I've sort of popped back and forth to see that. Is there anything outstanding that we need to cover before we kind of come to a close here?
I think we've wrapped up most of the outstanding questions. However, there were a couple things that if we could go over as a group, I think it might benefit more than just the person that was asking as well. A couple follow-up questions about scholarships, where to find information on scholarships, etc. So Walter, do you want to kind of navigate them in the proper direction for that kind of thing?
I can. I thought I was going to put that information out, but I got a little tripped up with some words looking at the clock down here. So the easiest place to find some information regarding the SDI scholarships is sdi.edu/scholarships. It's not that hard. Or if you have some other questions, just email the MVS email address. We'll get that information over there to you. Also within our announcement page that Sam just kind of highlighted for you, there is some information regarding scholarships through the Salute National Honor Society. And we've also got some other scholarship information that we kind of keep close hold right now for anybody that happens to ask for any assistance until we can get that page completely built out.
Great. I think those were kind of the key pieces that I found most overarching. If anybody has any last minute questions, feel free to pop them into that Q&A section right now. I've been keeping a pretty close eye on everything. Okay, so, okay, a couple are coming in right now. All the courses are online. So yes, Matthew, we're 100% online. However, we pair the online education piece of this with lots of hands-on labs and coursework as well. The lab materials that you'll need for your programs here, a good chunk of those we provide as part of your total program cost. So we'll ship anything lab-based that we provide for that course to you. And if you'd like information on what comes as part of your program or as part of each course, as well as what's recommended for you to purchase, as well as what's required for that course that you would need to purchase, you can do that on sdi.edu. If you navigate to either one of the pages that talk about our programs, the Associate of Science and Firearms Technology degree or the Advanced Gunsmithing Certificate, there's a link on there that'll say Tools List. Go ahead and navigate there. It'll give you an extensive list, course by course, for what is included in the coursework, recommended and required. There were a couple questions about funding. Go ahead, Walter. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me add just a little bit to that tools thing. You know, we've been working on a pretty big project that I'm not ready to completely divulge right now. But one of the things that we have found is that an organization out there that is willing to help students out with some tools.
Hmm.
If you happen to be one of those students that requires it, there's a difference between require and want. There is always eligibility requirements that have to be met. You can work with us and we'll help you get pointed in that direction for that veteran service organization, and see if we can make something happen with that as well.
Great.
That is something brand new, so you guys got the first slice of pie out there about that.
Yeah, that's like insider info, you guys. There's another question here when we're talking about is there any help for the tools and that type of thing. It ties somewhat closely with a couple of the voc rehab questions that we had earlier in the evening. Anybody wanted to kind of talk through the voc rehab process or any additional funding information that they can find? There were a couple questions as well on National Guard and that type of thing. So if we could maybe put some out for the group, some general information on where to find more information on funding sources. And
I would say the easiest thing to do is just kind of email us directly with exactly what you need for funding. We have some avenues for some funding sources. Again, with everything that is specific to military, everything is tied to eligibility. So there has to be an honorable service discharge or an active duty discharge. Some of the organizations may require you to be a member of that organization. It's really hard just to put out a general statement, except say, hey, get with us individually, and we can see if we can help you navigate that and get you to where you're benefiting from some of these veteran service organizations that are out there. I mean, Sam would probably have a better answer than what I did. I should have let him answer that.
No, the only thing I was going to say is same as what you said. It's really a case by case. States vary a lot of times on what they will fund and not fund. And then also regards to the vocational rehab, it kind of differentiates, depending on which office you're kind of going through with that stuff. Best thing for you to do is to kind of reach out with the VA and just initiate that process. If you have any questions or concerns as you're going through it, please follow back up to us. But that can differentiate between one voc rehab counselor to the next.
absolutely. There is one in here that says, Matthew asks, do both the courses progress from each other, as in one right after the other? And Matthew and anybody else interested, you can take one or both. If you're going to take both, you have to start with the Advanced Gunsmithing Certificate Program. All of the credits in that program do roll into the degree program should you decide to continue on. For those of you who know right away that you want to go for the degree, you can absolutely do that. You will take all of the courses from the Advanced Gunsmithing Certificate as part of your degree program, plus additional coursework. Let us know if you have any questions on that. You can go to MBS for that, or you can email admissions@sdi.edu. And this finally, go ahead, Wes. Anything to add there?
No, I was going to say that's part of what's cool about the website as well. You can go on there and sort of compare and contrast the two. You can see exactly, because there are a few courses, obviously the credit hours are different. So take a look at what you get to participate in with the degree that you don't necessarily get in the Advanced Gunsmithing Certificate. So you'll be able to kind of see which route you need to go. It'll give you an idea.
Absolutely. And the Armorer course, David, just because this ties in pretty nicely, our Armorer courses are options for our firearms technology elective. So in either of those programs, AGS or ASFT as we call them, those are our acronyms, you can select one of our Armorer courses, the 1911, AR-10, or AR-15, as your firearms technology elective selection. If you'd like to take those separately or an additional one, let's say, hey, I want to do an AR-15 as part of my degree program, you can absolutely come back and take any of those other Armorer courses. They just would not be covered by TA, VA funding, FSA, that type of thing. So that would be an out-of-pocket expense if you wanted to take one completely separately from your program. But one of those is included in either one of those programs that you would select. Can you take all the Armorer courses? Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Wes.
Yeah, if you do the degree, you get the cool muzzleloader build too.
Yep.
So that was the fun one.
Absolutely, absolutely. If we're already students, when do we find out or choose the elective course? Your student services advisor is going to email you a form to complete about 3 weeks before that course begins, which is going to fluctuate from student to student. Typically that happens in the second half of your programming, or in your coursework. So it's one of those things that we kind of build up to. But your student services advisor will be able to answer any questions about your particular course schedule. So if you have any questions, I recommend reaching out to them. And then this one I want to kind of open up maybe to Walter, potentially. Is there any type of SDI veteran alumni group that may allow current and former vet students to make contact with each other? I'm going to tee that up for you. I know we're working on it, and that's, you know, on the docket. So any talking points there for me?
Sean, let's do it, man. Get in touch with us. Send us a request through the forum. Yeah, I'm gonna send you back to some of our products. Either email us with an idea. Help us build it. That's what we're here for. I know we got to get closed up pretty soon. I think that was probably the last question.
That's it. Yep.
But the other big takeaway, if there is something that we don't have that you guys and gals want to see, and that's what we're here for. You know, we can. It takes just a little bit of time for us to kind of get some of this stuff built out, but we are willing to try anything one time, and some of the cool stuff even twice. But if we can get one of those veteran forums together, let's do it. I mean, you don't have to do it, Zachary. We can get it done. I mean, we kind of already have something built for that, to be honest with you. And that's through the virtual community center. We leave our students access to that even after they've graduated. So, you know, we can probably just build a box inside that says, hey, this is for some veteran alumni. It would probably be as easy as that. But I would have to defer to Sam to that, since he's our subject matter expert for the Moodle stuff there. So, but it shouldn't be too hard.
Okay, Jennifer, take us to the last slide and we'll close this thing. All right. First and foremost, thank you guys for staying on. We still have a pretty big crowd from where we started. MVS team, thank you for being a part of tonight. Jennifer, as always, thanks for jumping on and helping guide us through this. For the folks that are still here, if you missed any portion of this or you just want to relook at some of the information that was presented, give us a couple of days. The webinar will be up on our YouTube page, so you can go to YouTube and look for this webinar. Guys, again, for those of you that are not currently students, go to the website. There's a lot of resources that you have available to you when you come to SDI. Click that link, request more information, and learn what you need to do. We do an industry webinar or some type of webinar every month. So keep an eye on your email. We'll see what next month is going to be. There'll obviously be something a little bit different, but if you enjoy sitting in and talking to our folks, you'll have a chance to do that. Jennifer, as well as the rest of us, but mainly Jennifer, would really, really appreciate it if you would follow us on all of our social media links. There's some pretty cool, interesting stuff that gets posted in Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, and we do. We have a pretty good Facebook page for you guys to go in and interact on there as well. Hey, thank you all for attending tonight, and for those of you that are currently serving or that are prior service in that veteran category, thank you for your service. I know sometimes it feels weird when people tell you that kind of stuff, or at least it does to me a little bit, but we mean it here. You are part of our family, and we absolutely appreciate what you did. Let us take care of you as a student now. Thank you for being a part of tonight. Enjoy your evening, and with that being said, we'll kind of sign off. Good night, everybody.